Hey guys, it's Geoffrey.
And I'm John.
Together, we're the cross-eyed guys.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about today's episode. Should we tell them the dilemma here?
The dilemma, the exodus to get to this.
Lord help us. So this is session recording number 3, or recording session number 3, however you want to say it, whatever. Who cares? This is the third attempt, y'all. We have slaved and worked our rear ends off to try and get this episode out. But anyway, yeah, it's my fault. We did a great job yesterday recording. It was probably one of the better recordings that we've had. And I turned the cameras off instead of turning them on. So, yep, yay, here's number 3. Anyway, yep, without further ado. So this episode, we are going to title this High School Like It's 1999. And so we're just going to swap some stories here and talk a little bit about what high school was like back in the day. We may go back to 1990 up to 95 to 99. A little, we'll have a little mixture of everything. But mainly it's going to be high school. And, probably the one thing that you ought to know is the fact that Geoffrey and I have very different backgrounds. So his stories are going to be a lot more encouraging. And then my stories are going to be a little more sketchy. So, if that's okay to say it that way, but yeah, So yeah, we just had different upbringings, and it's kind of cool, and I'm excited to talk about it and share about it because the Lord can do anything with anybody at any time that He wants to, and it's awesome that He even brought us together as friends. So yeah, what do you think?
Sounds good. Let me start out. Why don't you tell us what high school did you go to?
Yeah, so I went to 2 different high schools. My first high school was Belleville High School, and that's in Belleville, Michigan, which is a part of, I don't even remember the school district at this point. Van Buren Township was the school district. So I started out there, went there for a little while, and then I went to Willow Run High School. And Willow Run High School is where I had a lot of my high school experience. But when I went there, they didn't really want to let me go to school there because I dropped out for a year. So I dropped out of school at Belleville High School in 9th grade. And when I dropped out for a year, I decided I wanted to go back because, the wrestling team, I wanted to wrestle and do that. And so my dad went to enroll me in school again, and that would have been my 10th grade year, but I dropped out in 9th grade, so I would have had to go back to 9th grade. And the school did not want to approve me to go back because I was a troubled teen. So they wouldn't let me attend Willow Run High School, but they allowed me to sign up and join the adult transitions program that they had for troubled teens. So I went and had my high school experience with other troubled teens. So that's where I went. Belleville High School for half a year, and the rest of my career would have been with Willow Run High School.
Cool.
Yeah. How about you? Where'd you go?
I went to Lafayette Jeff High School in Lafayette, Indiana. Go Broncos! I loved high school there. We got a couple claims to fame that here a few years back, the NFL player Dustin Keller played for the Eagles until he got injured. Graduated from Jeff, and Axl Rose.
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses. Yeah, went to Jeff.
Oh yeah.
He didn't graduate, but he
Yeah. Most of the cool kids don't graduate. I was kidding.
Yeah.
Yep, that's cool. Yeah, we had a out of Belleville High School. There's been a couple guys that have come out of there and made it pretty big with football. I believe the dude's name was Biaka Patuka. I have no idea. Yeah, I don't know where he actually plays or anything like that. I never followed him beyond that, but he's like my brother's age. He's a little older than me. And then we had a kid. I can't remember. Bryce Young, I think is what his name is, but he was a senior last year, and this year he is going to be playing for Michigan University. So go Wolverines. Yeah, baby. If you're not a Wolverines fan, well, then quit watching our episodes. I'm just kidding. I'm probably a solo guy on that. But anyway, the Wolverines, and hopefully this Bryce Young kid will do a good job this year, and hopefully he doesn't suck. If he does suck, well, sorry about you for wasting all that money on a high school kid. It's like $14 million I gave this kid.
Yeah.
Come from high school and play for us. We'll give you $14 million. Yeah, that's stupid. But anyway, if anything will make you not want to be a Wolverines fan, it'll be spending $14 million on a high school kid. So, yep. All right. Well, you want to start us off, or you want to do some rock paper scissors? See who shares the first story.
Let's do some rock paper scissors.
All right, let's make it happen. Ready?
Rock paper scissors shoot. Rock paper scissors shoot.
Oh, got him.
Rock paper scissors shoot. Rock paper scissors shoot. Oh, that's it.
1-1.
Yep. Rock paper scissors shoot. Rock paper scissors shoot. Rock paper scissors shoot.
Rock paper scissors shoot. Rock paper scissors shoot. Oh, he got me.
Gotcha.
All right.
All right.
Dang it, Bobby.
So, yeah, my first story actually stems from a day at work. Where I currently work. I work on the office side of a warehouse. But when I first started there, I was in the warehouse, and I work for a sporting goods company, and I was in the warehouse picking orders, and I get to the one order, and I pull what the item is, and it's a Michael Jordan backpack.
Yeah.
So it's red and black, and super flashy, has the Jumpman symbol on it and everything. And I thought to myself, man, my parents would have never bought me a Michael Jordan backpack. It was way too expensive. I don't need no. I can just do a generic backpack. Right? Would have never bought me. But the moment I think that, I was instantly traveled through time to that like feeling of the first day of school, whether it's grade school, middle school, or high school, where that you have that nervous energy of it's like the summer's over, and you don't know who's going to be in your classes. You might not know all your teachers or any of your teachers, and you get into high school, you don't know where your locker is going to be, things like that. And I literally felt that in my chest. It wasn't just thinking, oh yeah, I remember that. It was like I was there. It's just crazy how things get attached to memories.
Yeah.
And how memories can have such a strong emotional, like physical effect on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, you're talking about some of the popular stuff back then. I mean, we had the what was it, starter, the jackets, and then the trapper keepers and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yes, and the Jordans, man. I never had Jordans unless I stole them off another kid's feet. But the Jordans, they were like the big deal, man. I mean, kids, just about everybody had Jordans.
They still are,
and they're still a huge deal. Kudos to his
mom.
mom.
At least he was actually playing basketball when we were in school.
Yeah. And that boils back to good parenting, man. I mean, his mom did a great job making sure his contracts were right.
Yeah, making amazing business decisions.
Yes, yep. So but those were cool things, man. M&M's.
Ain't no one having their LeBron James shoes stolen.
Nah, nobody's taking LeBron's.
No.
I regrettably bought a pair of LeBron's once, and I say regrettably because one, that felt a lot like cheating on Jordan. And then the second thing, they were the worst, most uncomfortable pair of shoes I've ever owned. I paid like $160 for those stupid shoes.
You paid $160 more than
they're worth. More than they're worth. And then I gave them to Goodwill about 2 weeks later. Yep, they sucked. So anyway, a couple other cool things, man. M&M. Do you remember like in '95 when M&M's? I mean M&M's, not the rapper, the candy. Yeah, you remember in like '95 when M&M's they did that select a new color thing, like we all got to vote. They were trying to come up with a new color for the new M&M.
I remember it was a really big deal.
Yeah, it was huge, man. I was talking to Dawn about it yesterday, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I voted for the purple M&M." And I'm like, "Well, I don't even remember how we voted," and she can't remember either. She feels like she dialed a 1-800 number and pressed you know, like 1, 2, or 3 or whatever it was for the
I bet it
color.
was both mail-in and I bet there was a 1-800 number.
Yeah. I felt like there was something to do with some proof of purchase or something. Like you had to, cut off the proof of purchase and mail it in, like the weirdos did with Marlboro cigarettes.
No, I never smoked.
Yeah, I didn't really ever smoke cigarettes. I smoked a lot of weed back in the day, though. Sorry, kids, don't ever listen to this. Your dad didn't do great things all the time. So anyway, okay. Yep. So a couple of the popular things. You remember Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the show?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I used to watch that religiously.
Buffy the Vampire.
How about Saved by the Bell?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell.
All right. So who did you like more, Kelly, Jesse, or Lisa?
I was always Team Kelly.
Team Kelly?
Yeah.
Dude, I was Team Lisa.
Really? They're all attractive.
Oh yeah. I could have swore I was going to marry Lisa.
Lisa Turtle.
Yeah.
Can you remember all their names?
I don't remember half their names. I remember Zach
Morris, AC Slater.
Yep.
Screech Powell's. Let's see if I can remember his actual first name. That'll come to me.
I don't know what his first
Kelly
name was.
Kapowski, Lisa Turtle, and
Mr. Belvedere.
Mr.
What's his name?
No, that's a different show.
That's a different show.
Belding, Mr. Belding,
Yep, Mr. Belding,
and the other girl. She was the
Jessie.
Yeah, Jessie Spano.
Yep. And yeah, man, like that was my show back in the day. I don't remember hardly nothing about it now. Every now and then it comes on. There's a TV channel that we get on, just regular TV, and every now and then that show comes on. So I watch a little bit here and there. But yeah, it was a great show. How about Married with Children? No, you didn't watch Married with Children?
That was not allowed in there.
Dude, what kind of sinner was I? No, I'm just kidding. A good one. And yeah, married with Children. Al Bundy. That's like the cool dad. Every kid in our neighborhood, man, it's like if you caught them sitting on the porch or something, they all had their hand down their pants a little bit, looking like idiots. Okay, music. How about Smash Mouth?
Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listen to Smash Mouth.
Yeah, I used to love Smash Mouth, man. We were actually on our way home from vacation the other day, and Smash Mouth came on, and I turned the radio up, and my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I like this song, Yeah. So
they're actually in town here 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. Nobody bought tickets to go.
No, it was the free stage.
The free stage, yeah.
They're not selling out. Avril Lavigne still, you have to pay to go see her.
Yeah.
But not Smash Mouth.
Not Smash Mouth, yeah. I don't think I'd pay to go see her right now.
I would.
Maybe like $10 or something. Like a $10 ticket wouldn't be terrible. I'm definitely not getting into that whole. What's that girl's name? The Swiftie thing.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, those Swifter people where they want to pay $10,000 to go to a concert.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. No way. No, our generation would have never done that. No, no way. Our parents would have been like, I would rather kill you and make another one just like you. So anyway, okay. How about Linkin Park? Yeah. Linkin Park was one of my favorites. I used to have all their songs memorized. Then they came out with their second album, and it was the same songs remade. And then I quit listening to them. How about Eminem?
Eminem,
the rapper.
Wasn't supposed to, but
yeah. That's all right. I listen to Eminem a lot.
He ruled the world for a while.
Yeah, he kind of still does. People don't mess with him a whole lot. But okay, well, peanut butter M&Ms. You remember when they came out back in 1990?
I didn't realize they had been out for that long. You said that before.
Yeah. 1990, man, peanut butter M&Ms came out. Changed my life. Me and peanut butter M&Ms have an ongoing working relationship. So, yep, if I die of something, it's going to be that. Anyway, so yeah, my first story, go ahead and jump into that. This was when I was at Belleville High School, and I used to hang out with the wrong crowd. As a matter of fact, I probably initiated the wrong crowd. I was the kid that your parents would have been like, no, you can't hang out with that kid. I actually had a couple of friends that their parents did say that, and so that they weren't allowed to hang out with me. But anyway, So one day, see what happened was, me and my buddies were driving down the street, and it was me, my buddy Bobby, and Ryan, and Ryan had a 1996 Mustang, and so Ryan is driving us around. We're just hanging out. I don't know. It's late at night. I don't know exactly what time it was, but it's late, and we're smoking dope, doing stupid stuff. We was drinking a little bit, and oddly enough, Ryan never drank anything, but we always did. He just didn't. So anyway, we're driving on the road, and there's this kid riding towards us on a bicycle. And Ryan looks at me and he goes, "Hey, John, doesn't that kid owe you money?" I was like, "As a matter of fact, he does." I was like, "He does." I'd never seen that kid a day in my life. And he goes, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" I said, "Pull over. I'm going to get my money." And so he pulls the car over, and I call that kid to the car. This kid's, colorful language conversation going on here. He's cussing me one side and down another. And I'm like, "Give me my money." He's like, "I don't know you no money." And I'm like, "You do owe me money. You're going to give it to me, or I'm going to come get it. I'm going to take it out of your rear end," kind of thing. And so yeah, he doesn't want to give me his money, and rightfully so, because he didn't owe me anything. But I got out of the car and I started to chase this kid. And dude, he ran. Well, he's on his bike. He's riding away from me on his bike, like as fast as he possibly could go. And he lived what felt like 10 blocks away. So I'm chasing him the whole time. He gets off his bike. He kind of like slides his bike into the dirt, like he's a ninja or something crazy. And I'm like, "I got you. I've seen, Karate Kid." And so he turns around and he stands up and he gets in this fighting stance and he kind of looks just goofy and awkward. And I'm like, "Oh, I got this kid. I got this kid." And so I'm still running as fast as I can run. And I get closer to him and I go taking off in the air like I'm Jackie Chan or something. So I got my right leg extended all the way out, my left leg sucked up underneath me, and I'm looking like a ninja, which I was not a ninja. He ducks, my right leg goes over top of him, and my left leg clips the kid in the face as I'm going over, and then I fall. And so we're both on the ground. Well, he gets up and I get up, and he comes running at me, and I did exactly what every good fighter would do in the world. Probably not. But anyway, I grabbed this kid's shirt and I pulled over his head like we're in hockey and just started uppercutting this kid. And, Bobby's behind me like, "Kick his butt," and he's yelling and screaming. And this kid's dad comes running out of the house with a baseball bat. He's like, "Get off my son." And, so we all just took off running. Ryan had driven around the block a couple times and he came back and he picks us up. We get in the car and we drive off. End of story.
Doesn't that kid owe you $10? Sure.
Yeah.
Just go with it.
Just go with it. He owes me money. Go get it. I never got the money.
You never got the money.
I don't know. I don't even know if that kid had $5 in his pocket. Yep. But I got chased by his daddy. I'd have whooped that guy too. He was a big feller. I mean round. I don't mean muscular. Anyway, yeah. What stories you got?
Well, I always like one of my fondest memories of high school is teacher, or a science teacher, Greg Loud, Mr. Loud, of course. Even if I saw him today, I'd be Mr. Loud. Unless he really insisted on me calling him by his first name, it would have to be Mr. Loud. Earth science teacher, and he just made school fun.
Yeah.
We watched the movie Apollo 13. Apollo 13.
Yeah.
And he gave us a quiz afterwards, and it was a fun quiz, like name 2 other Tom Hanks movies.
Yeah.
Or what does NASA, the National Aeronautics Space Association, stand for?
Yeah.
It's just silly questions like that. It was a whole lot of fun, and then one time when teaching us about the different types of erosion, the only I couldn't remember the term off the top of my head, so I looked it up online. I found creep, which doesn't sound right, but it's the only thing I could find. But just a slow erosion to where it goes slowly, and then eventually it like the side of the hill will just go or whatever.
Yeah.
But when he taught us about it, he just kind of sat back in his chair and he just starts talking about, but he just kind of slowly leans back and starts going down in his chair, And as he's talking about, then he just slips off and falls onto the floor. It was awesome, but it's just obviously a demonstration of
Yeah.
it's giving visual representation
Mm-hmm.
and made it interesting. And did you ever hear of the game called Gooey Louie?
Not really. I think I heard of it, but I don't know.
Well, so for those of you unfamiliar, Gooey Louie, the game itself is a head that sits on your table.
Oh, the snot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The
I
snot.
got
So
you. Yeah.
Gooey Louie, he has a big nose, and there's boogers coming out of his nose, and the how you play the game is you take turns pulling the boogers out.
Yeah.
And if you pull the booger completely out, nothing happens, you're good. But one of those boogers is connected to something that pops his head open and his brain flies out.
Yeah.
So you're out if that happens. Then you reset the game.
His brain flies out.
He had this game, and in each one of his classes, he'd have the entire class play.
Yeah.
Until there's one person left. And then in our school, we did block scheduling. And so study hall was the same class, the same period for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So this was either before fall break or before Christmas break. I can't remember which one. But that week before that last study hall, he'd have the winners from all his classes come and play in the Gooey Louie Tournament of Champions.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome. And then whoever won, he had this trophy that person got to take that home
Mm-hmm.
for the break. And so another thing he did is, that song by Friends in Low Places?
Oh, yeah. Garth Brooks.
Garth Brooks, yeah. By Garth Brooks. So, I've got friends, and, that whole song. He would, rewrite some popular songs like that one. And for that one, so we had it was a week, probably more like a month, where we had what was called a lunar log. And at night, if you go outside, this is something I remember, you can measure the number of degrees the moon is from the horizon with your fist. I believe it's one fist is 10 degrees.
Yeah.
So if you start at the horizon, 1, 2, it's 30. 3 fists is 30 degrees.
Yeah.
But he wrote this song is instead of I've got friends in low places, and I keep track of moon phases.
Oh yeah.
And it was I keep track. Let's see. Blame it on the moon, I sing it out of tune, and it ruined your poor tender ears. But the moon, it was full, I surely should know, because for 3 weeks I've been searching the air. When I saw the moon rise super huge in the skies, I hurried for paper or pen, grabbed my lunar log, and extended my arms, looking stupid as I measured degrees. And then I keep track of phases.
Yeah.
And, it just shows like the mark of a good teacher is that to this day, I remember that song word for word. I found Mr. Locke on Facebook, and I tagged him in a post with the lyrics of that song and asked him how I did, and he said, I got spot on every word. He's like, how did you remember that? Yeah. It's like, because of you.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's good, man. How'd you find him on Facebook?
I just looked him up.
Yeah.
I knew his first name, Greg Lauk, and he's on there, and I found him. And
yeah, I've tried to look up a couple of teachers from back in the day, man. I don't have any luck. People may change names or stuff, but, so like,
or they're not on there,
or they're not on there, or whatever. But I've looked up. So like, I had a teacher. Her name was Mrs. Buck, and it wasn't high school. It was middle school. But I tried to look her up before, and I can't find her. But it would help if I knew her first name. But I don't know what her first name is anyway. But so, yeah, Mrs. Buck was probably one of the most influential teachers for me growing up. And, the reason I say she was influential to me is because she didn't buy into my BS. My parents, I was at like the beginning stage of where they were trying to figure out if they wanted to give kids ADD medicine, like give them a label and give them medication to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so my parents didn't want to deal with it. and the school didn't want to deal with it to figure it out. I wasn't doing my work. I wasn't turning in anything. Um, I didn't pay attention to class. I was always goofing off, getting in trouble, doing all the things. Anything except for what I was supposed to be doing is what I was doing. Um, and so they decided, well, we're going to put him in a special needs class because maybe something's wrong. He's not learning.
Mm.
And so they put me in Mrs. Buck's class, and I'm in there for like maybe a semester or so. But she figures it out, and she's like, he doesn't have any issues. There's no medical conditions here whatsoever, and there's nothing wrong with him. He just doesn't want to learn. He doesn't want to do school, and so she figured that out, and it created this respect between her and I, where she had my number. She's calling my bluff on everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, nope, you're not going to get away with that in here because I already know. And so she actually got me to do my work and actually got me motivated in school. And as a part of her getting me motivated, I started to learn, and I actually became a pretty decent student for like a whole year. Which was to her credit because she influenced me and she changed just kind of the way that I saw school. So yeah, and then there was Mr. Krug. He was middle school as well, but he went to the high school at the same time I did. But he was a gym teacher for a while, then he was a science teacher, and Mr. Krug was just like a younger teacher. He's in his 20s when he was my teacher, and so he was just cool and hip back in the day, and everybody liked him, and I liked that guy. He was a pretty cool dude. But and then there was Coach Hale when I got into Will Run High School, the adult transitions program. He was the wrestling coach, and I wanted to wrestle, and so he allowed me to come over and wrestle and be a part of the wrestling team. Even though if I ever wrestled in a wrestling meet, my match would have to be exhibition because insurance purposes of me not actually being on the team, so it would have to be exhibition. And so he would allow me to do that, and he put time into our relationship, and he was a Christian man, and to this day I'm still connected to him. He did my wedding when Dawn and I got married, and yeah, so he's just a real good positive influence on me. He was a Christian man. At the time, I didn't realize the effect that our relationship would have, or the fact that he would end up being the guy that does my wedding. Back in those days, I didn't think nothing about marriage. Honestly, when I started in the wrestling team, I didn't think that I would live to be past like 19 years old. Much less get married and have a family or even meet Jesus. So, but yeah, he had a huge impact on my life, and because of the way that he loved the Lord and the way that he exemplified that in front of us, it began a change in me that several years later I would be able to look back on and go, oh yeah, God was definitely up to something. So yeah.
Mr. Herbert and Mrs. Bean, journalism teacher and English teacher respectively. Mr. Herbert, I've gotten to see him a couple times after high school, and he was is very passionate about journalism and what he does. Our high school had its own newspaper, which was really cool. So we had an entire newspaper staff. I was never on the newspaper, but it was a cool thing to have. And so he had a newspaper for us, our local newspaper, Journal and Courier, local newspaper there in Lafayette, for us every day of the week. And I remember we had to take some sort of article from the newspaper and have some sort of like summary, I believe, something to that effect. We could pick any section of the newspaper except the comic section, unfortunately. But
right,
he's the only reason I know what I do know about the Watergate scandal because I was required reading in his class a book called All the President's Men, which was about that whole situation, and he's a believer also, and just a really fun guy. And I don't know how it is today, but occasionally I would go when I was still living in Lafayette. I would go to Jeff, and back then all you had to do is I'd walk into the office and say, "Hey, I'm completely unplanned, completely unscheduled. Hey, I'm just he would visit, and they'd give me a visitor badge, and I'd go
Yeah.
wander
Yeah.
around the school. And even when I came to his classroom, even if he was in class, he would pause his class real quick and come out to the hallway and talk to me for 5-10
Yeah.
minutes.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was so much fun. There's one time when he actually arm wrestled a female student just to show that men were stronger than women.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then Miss Bean, I had her as a substitute teacher in one class or another all 3 years of middle school.
Yeah.
And then I had her as my English teacher full time my freshman year of high school.
Mhm.
So I had all these years of like seeing her every year, and I got to know her well, and she got to know me, and both. I've seen these teachers outside of school, and they always remember me.
Yeah.
Another fun story about Mr. Lauk is when I was at my very first ever job at Marsh Supermarket. For some of you watching this / listening to this, won't remember Marsh Supermarket. It's not around anymore.
Mhm.
But I was at the
It's a
meat
shame.
camp. It is a shame.
They had great tater salad, man.
They had really good cornbread too.
Yeah.
Essentially corn
I
cake.
miss Marsh.
Mhm.
Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
keep going.
I was behind the meat counter, and Mr. Lack came up, and I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Lack," and he has this look on his face like he's trying to remember my name.
Yeah.
And I go, "Jeffrey." He goes, "No, that's not it. Bill."
You mean
It
to
was
tell me I gave you
awesome.
my wrong name?
Right? It was awesome.
Yeah.
I've used that very same thing with kids in kids church before, and
Yeah.
just that influence there, and like he knew my name.
Mhm.
He probably knows the name of every single one of the students. Probably same with Miss Beam and Mr. Herbert. These 3 teachers I mentioned. That's not nearly exhaustive of the teachers
Yeah.
that had an effect on my life.
Yeah.
And what about some friends?
Yeah. Well, I had a ton of friends. I want to share a story with you about a girl. So I had this girl. She was a cheerleader in 9th grade, and I had a crush on her, but I never told her. It was just like one of those things where it's like she's way out of my league kind of thing. Which, by the way, I married up, so I got something way better than this girl back in high school. But anyway, this is embarrassing and funny at the same time. So it's very embarrassing for me to share the story with you, and everybody online, and God and their moms, and whatever. So, yep, it's an embarrassing story. But anyway, we had to do this assignment about a time in history. Each of us, the students were able to just pick whatever you wanted. It had to be a time in history, and you had to do a thorough report on it. And I don't remember all of the criteria for the report, like it had to have, whatever substance and, whatever. I don't remember all of that stuff, but we had to do a report, a book report on a time in history. Pick an event, do the report. So I picked my event, and I do my report. And, I smoked a lot, and it shows in my schoolwork, but I did my entire report on the Civil War, but I had no idea, because I did not listen to a single word any teacher had ever told me. I did not know that it was actually called the Civil War. So I did this entire report that I completely made up with no facts, no evidence, no truths, nothing whatsoever on the Civil War. Civil War. So I turned this paper in, and I'm pretty certain my teacher had read part of this paper, and he hands it back to me and says, "Go have a seat." I'm like, okay. And so I sit down, and then he makes this announcement to the class: "We're going to grade today's papers. First, you're going to do grammar and spelling, but you're going to hand your paper to the person next to you, and they're going to grade your paper for you."
Yeah, we did something like that.
Yeah. So I hand my paper to this girl that I got a crush on, that I like, and she's reading my full report on the Civil War and looking at me like I am a complete idiot, which I was. Yeah, it was hilarious. So to this day, I'm still it still bothers me a little bit. Like, yeah, I'm still embarrassed by it. But yeah,
Mhm.
I did a whole report on the Civil War, and there was no truth, no fact.
Mhm.
I just made that stuff up. Uh, but anyway, you get into friends and just people like that. So uh, some of my best friends, man, were my cousins. My cousins went to Will Run High School as well. Ernie, Jeremy, Levi, they're brothers. They're just a couple years apart from each other. But they were my best friends. I hung out with Jeremy and Ernie a lot more, and as the years went on, me and Ernie got closer and closer. Um, but we hung out a whole lot, man. And there was this one time. See what happened was, me and Ernie. This was about ninth grade, maybe 10th grade. But I had quit going to school at that time, and so I was just kind of the bad influence. We'd skip school, we'd go hang out, do whatever. Well, on this particular day, we didn't skip school to hang out, but it was the weekend, and we had a friend named Dustin, and Dustin had a paper route. Back in the day when you used to have to deliver papers to make a little bit of money.
Mhm.
So Dustin had a paper route, and we all stayed the night at Dustin's house. It was on like a Friday night going into Saturday, and so Saturday morning papers had to be delivered earlier. So you had to get up at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning, go down to the corner, get the papers, and go deliver them.
Mhm.
Well, we had this great idea that we would go steal golf carts from the golf course, and we would deliver the papers using the golf carts. So we did. Uh, we went into the golf course, which my grandpa worked at this golf course. For the longest time, I thought it was his. I didn't even know until this happened and legal things came out. I didn't even know that it wasn't my grandpa's actual golf course. I thought he owned the place.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we break in, we jump over the fence, we go and we get the golf carts, and apparently you could just jam a pocket knife into the ignition and turn it. They start right up. So that's what we did. We did it to 2 or 3 of them. We drove them around the golf course like a bunch of idiots, and we ran a few into a pond and just destroyed the property. Well, then we thought, well, it worked for a couple. We'll take them all. So we start. We break the fence open and we start taking golf carts, just a couple at a time, over to the woods that were across the street from the golf course and parking them in the woods. And we just start taking golf carts. So we get a bunch of them over there, and then we remember, oh yeah, we had to deliver papers. So
That was the whole point.
That's the whole point. Yeah. So so we start to head back to Dustin's house to deliver the papers. Well, we got 2 golf carts. We're running down the main street there, which would have been like Highway 40 or something here. So we're running down the main road, and a cop pulls up behind us, and he hits his horns and his sirens, cherries and berries all over the place. And I think it was Ernie that was sitting next to me, and he goes, "Don't stop!" So we're in this low speed chase, and I pull around this corner, and I'm like, "Look, guys, we gotta dip. We gotta get out of here." And so we just jump off this golf cart while it's still rolling, and we take off running, and everybody starts to kind of get away. Ernie ducks down next to the cop car that we're running away from, and just lays on the ground. He just laid there. The cops chase all the rest of us. I get over this fence. There's this big wooden fence. It's like 8 feet tall. I get over the top of it. I fall on the ground on the other side of it, and I start to run through these woods. When I get to the woods, I get clotheslined by this grapevine. It knocks me on my back, and there's a cop right behind me, and this dude hits me over the head with a flashlight to keep me on the ground, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." "I'm sure you are, jerk." So he arrests me, and I end up going to jail that night. Ernie gets his butt all the way home and is laying in his bed, fully clothed with his shoes on, and the cops pull up to his house. One of us snitched on him. I don't remember everything. It was probably me. I don't know. I think it was Dustin that told on him. But anyway, so somebody told on him, and the cops go to his house, and my aunt Robin, she's like, "I'll beat you to death if you do something wrong," kind of mom. So the cops show up, and she's like, "No, he's been in bed. He's been in bed all night. I promise." And she's like, "Come look." And she walks into his room and turns his lights on, and his shoes are hanging out of his blanket. And she's like, "You little," and he's busted, man. But I ended up staying the night in jail that night. I was like 16 at that time, so I ended up staying in jail, and then we all had to do community service for the entire summer, and they made us wash golf carts all summer long for for the whole summer, and then I got a what do they call that? I don't know. I had to go see an officer every week for like 4 months, and she made me do homework and papers and no, not parole, not that kind of thing. Like I wasn't like in jail like that, but caseworker. That's what it was. Yep, child caseworker. So I'd go see this caseworker for a while, and she was cool. She was an all right lady. Her name was Terry Beetlescombe. Was her name? But yeah. So anyway, yep. Yep.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yep. Nope.
If you say that 3 times in a row, does Beetlescombe?
Yeah. Yeah. Will she show up?
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Yeah. Yeah. No, she was a good lady. I learned a lot from that lady, and she straightened me out for a couple months while I had to go see her. But they probably should have made me go see this caseworker indefinitely.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So yeah. Anyway, we followed all the legal things that we were supposed to do, and everything's cool. And my grandpa ended up paying for a lot of the damages, and we worked our butts off to pay off some of it. So yeah. Anyway, friends.
Yeah, friends. So one of my best friends is a guy by the name of Philip Miser. Call him Phil. And, some of our adventures. Our high school had a hangout area. Where there's a snack bar you could buy, student-run snack bar you could buy stuff from, or they had vending machines also. And just a hangout area, and there's a couple of TVs mounted on the walls where they show school announcement things of that nature. And him and I, I thought it was cool, so I carried a pack of cards with me.
Yeah.
And I'd pull out my pack of cards, and I dealt like 5 cards to him, 5 cards to me, and we just started playing cards. And you know what card game we played? Yeah, neither do we, because we literally it's made it up as we went.
Yeah.
We would deal cards, we would play cards, and every once in a while we'd pull a card, or if I would play a card and Phil would go, "Oh, dang it," and he'd pick up the stack and put it into his hand. It's literally something that could only happen one time because of how spontaneous it is.
Yeah.
You cannot plan to do that. It has to just happen.
Yeah, just a natural flow of things.
Right. And there's another time when it was after school in that same area, and he's just kind of like being weird and kind of acting like he's like I don't know, a dinosaur or something or whatever. Yeah. And so I just go ahead and go along with it. I'm like, as we see here, we are now going to prepare to tranquilize the animal. I'm standing here like I'm holding a gun or something. I go, bam, and he played with it, and he fell to the ground. And I'm kind of like thinking, I'll start talking. Now we are going to we are going to put a tracker on the animal, and I'm trying like looking around like something I could place on him, and he's laying there, and he pulls his student ID off his neck with one hand and hands it to me, and I go, all right, now we're going to put this on here, and now we'll be able to track the animal. And it was just,
That's
so
funny.
much fun. We once had this competition where close to the front of our school, we had this hallway that curved around.
Yeah.
And he had just this little plastic ball, and we did this contest. This is after school has ended, so like most of the people are not even in the building anymore.
Yeah. And
we would throw it, and the goal was to roll it along the ground, bounced off the wall, and see how far down the hallway we go. And I remember I thought we were in trouble because this teacher comes around the corner and catches us doing it. And I don't think either of us knew who the teacher was, but I was like, oh man, we're in trouble. But no, she just smiled and just kept walking. It's like there's worse things we could be doing, right?
Yeah. Could be doing dope.
Yeah, you could be doing dope. It could be, there are worse places we could have been, And we hung out all the time, and There's one time when we went to the mall and we come out of the mall and we come walking up to his car and his car is running. He had
Mhm.
left his car running
Yeah,
accidentally while we were in the mall. I've never done that.
that's hilarious.
And but also, I can't talk about Phil without talking about his parents, Sue and Glenn Miser. Have you ever had friends whose parents you were close enough that you might call them mom and dad also,
Oh yeah.
along with your own mom and
Hmm.
dad? If I were to have ever done that, it probably would have been with them.
Yeah.
The nicest people in the world. They're at our wedding. We've had them over our home for dinner, but one day after school we were at his house because I had a good amount of freedom in high school.
Yeah.
My parents didn't expect me home right after school. Not in this
Yeah.
one particular day. I just randomly went and went home with him, and we were hanging out at his house. And his parents get home, and it turned out that he had gotten as either a grant or a scholarship, something that he had applied to for money towards college.
Hmm.
And so they're going to go out to dinner to celebrate. And for me, I felt a little bit awkward. Like, all right, Phil lived as far out as you could go and still go to our high school.
Uh huh.
Like on the other side of the street, they went to the other high school.
The other side of the tracks.
Yeah, right. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess we're done hanging out for the day.
Yeah.
But no, like they didn't even ask me if I wanted to come or if it was okay if I came. No, it was automatic. I went with
Yeah.
because I was there. That I'll never forget that and how nice his parents always were. And his dad is very missions minded. I know that they go on a lot of mission trips. And it's
Mhm.
funny when we got married, our pastor at the time was also very missions oriented, and I guess Phil's dad just talked his ear off
Yeah. Yeah. That's
during
cool.
the reception.
Yeah. That's cool.
So it's just another, I'll send this to him because I still have the occasional contact with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're listening and you're watching this, thank you for not just for being really cool parents. I know that just came natural. We weren't trying or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever. Phil and I, we've not just had those fun times. We went. Quick plug: we're going to be at Gen Con. I went to my very first Gen Con with Phil,
Oh yeah.
and we did this weekend youth retreat with a church with Phil, and just a lot of good times. And,
Yeah.
again, not an exhaustive. I had other friends. In fact, I was actually my senior year at lunch. A friend of mine, one of my nicknames, he was the only one who ever called me it, but it was the ambassador, because I had 4 or 5 tables that I would make the rounds to
Yeah.
of friends. Afterwards, I didn't realize how many friends I actually did have until after school. But
Yeah. That's cool.
mm,
Yeah. So another story. I'll jump into another one real quick. Talking about friends. These would have been, just friends later in the high school time. I wasn't going to school at this time, but I still had some friends that were going to school. But anyway, these new kids had moved in. They come, moved to our neighborhood from Alabama, and so they had the BMX bikes and stuff like that. And I had a BMX bike. Mine was stolen and spray painted. It came from a kid around the corner, but he never came back looking for it. So yep, I ended up with a pretty nice BMX bike.
you stole.
I stole it.
It
And
wasn't you had a bike
No.
and it was stolen.
no. I
Oh,
stole the bike from
gotcha.
the kid. I spray painted it. Yep. But anyway, doggone it. The Lord does wonders in people's lives. So I'll just go there. But anyway, so I had this bike, and these new kids had moved across the street, moved in, across the street from me, and they like to race and stuff. So we'd set up ramps and different things. And one day, it was me and this kid Mike, and he's like, "Hey man, let's race and see who can get around the block the fastest." It's like, all right. So we started at one corner, and we were supposed to go all the way around the block and finish at that same corner. Well, he had an older brother that had a car, and the car was parked in the street, and but anyway, his older brother was sitting in the car, and so one of our friends is like, doing the whole 3, 2, 1, go, and we take off. He's on the outside and I'm on the inside, closest to the curb, and we're both just going as fast as we can. Man, I'm probably pedaling this bike at 48 miles. No, it was probably 15 or 16 miles an hour. But I'm pedaling this bike as fast as I possibly can pedal it. And his brother is sitting in the car with his window down, and I don't know if he knew that we were coming and he was trying to be funny, or he didn't know at all. He never owned up to it. Whatever the situation was, he did not own up to whether or not he knew we were coming around this corner. And so he opens up his door right as I'm getting there, and I smack, pow! I hit that door, but the window's down. I go over the handlebars and through the window of that car and land on the ground, dude. It hurt so bad. I wanted to cry, but I didn't. I sucked it up and got up, and that was funny. Yep,
that is really funny.
Got my butt whooped by a car door. So it'd been like one of those videos that we see now where the guy, he comes on, he's like, refrigerator, and I, play for the state of Alabama, and like, you ever seen those videos where people run into something and yep. So anyway, that's another good one. I did date a girl one time, and her dad made me get baptized. So, there was a little bit of an influence where I could see the Lord working in my life growing up. And I say that because I dated a Christian girl and her parents were Christians. Me and her did not behave as Christians. But I got baptized for her. So I've been baptized 5 or 6 times. Every time you date a girl, you get baptized. Date a Christian girl. Which is really weird because I always dated Baptist girls until I met my wife. And she was an undercover Baptist girl. I didn't know she was actually Baptist. I thought she was Pentecostal. She was undercover. My wife's always been a Baptist. They didn't go to a Pentecostal church until they moved to Michigan. I'm sorry. I think she went for a little bit when she lived in Ohio, and then when they moved to Michigan, they really got involved. So anyway, but she's always been a Baptist girl, and I met her in a Pentecostal church. So yeah. Anyway, yep. And then, I just got like 1 or 2 more stories. You want to share one?
Yeah. So, one of the really cool things about my high school is they're very open, accepting. I don't know, but you know the game Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
My school had a school-sanctioned, school-organized Super Smash Brothers tournament.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was awesome. Actually, I participated too.
Yeah.
I participated in it. I got to the top 20. Another one of my best friends.
Were there 21 people?
No.
Okay.
There's more than 20 people, a significant amount more. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't brag about being in the top 20. But my friend Brian Clark, he ended up becoming going career Air Force.
Yeah.
But him and I participated in it, and we hung out so much during high school, and especially after he got his license, and he once, I was at his wedding. He once described me as his most loyal friend.
Yeah, that's cool.
Something that's stuck with me the entire time. But while this tournament was going on, the lights went out. Yeah, and it was like pitch black, right? They're only out for like a moment or two, but when they came back on, he's standing there just with his hand out.
Yeah.
Like there was this automatic response, I guess, to make sure no one ran into him or something.
Yeah, that's funny.
It was so funny to have the lights come back on it and see that. And something else, I was into creative writing in high school. And I was on my high school's creative writing magazine my senior year. It was only 4 seniors, which was a really fun experience because to be in to get something published in the magazine. It only came out once a year.
Yeah.
You submitted it to the magazine, and then as a class we would read these submissions, short stories, poems, what have you, and it would be all anonymous. We wouldn't see who had written it.
Yeah.
And we'd vote on it, so it didn't get in the magazine unless it was on the majority vote. And that senior year, something we started was having a poetry hour on. It may have been every Friday, or maybe it was one Friday a month. I feel like it was every Friday though. Mm-hmm. And we had a good sized library. And on a side note, I checked out books from the library all the time, and the librarian, she knew me, and she knew she was never going to get a single book back on time. But she never got on me about it because she knew she would get it back.
Mm-hmm.
But with the poetry hour, I participated in that a few times, and you could read poetry, a short story. We've had a couple of people do performances. Bring up their guitar or whatever. And one of the more memorable moments, say that 5 times fast.
I couldn't.
I want to read a poem for you that I wrote because I put together this a collection of poems and short stories by Geoffrey W. Flood. It's called Three Rights Make a Left. And I want to read the poem, and then I'm going to tell you the origin of the poem. Mm-hmm. I'm going to find it pretty quick here. Let's check that page. Oh, there you go. Handful of it. All right, so this one, it's called Rob in the Hood. Yeah. It's
not Robin Hood.
No, not Robin.
Okay, got it.
Rob in the Hood. So you've heard the story of Robin Hood. Well, this is the story of Rob in the Hood. Yo, Rob was walking down the street with his baggy pants and smelly feet. Yo. Now, by the second yo, again, like all the kids in my high school were awesome. Right? I get to the second yo, and now the crowd starts repeating that after me.
Yeah.
I go, his baggy pants and smelly feet, yo, and they all went, yo. It was awesome. I was like,
that's cool.
I was in my element there. It was so much fun. But continuing, Rob spent his life in the hood, stealing money from the man, which is just a euphemism for the rich, So anyway, he would jack their money and give it to the financially challenged, and all of them poor people gave Rob props, He would say, yo, don't thank me, it's just what I do,
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's what I do.
And the origin, the best part is the origin of that is in creative writing class, we had an assignment to take a classic storyline and modernize it.
Yeah.
And I was all about this assignment. I was going to take Robin Hood and turn it into sort of like a dark Batman type storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all right. So I leave school that day and I completely forget about it until 2 days later, because we had the block scheduling, which means we had set of 4 classes, Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
and
another set Tuesday and Thursday. So 2 days later, I'm coming to class, remember the assignment, and I'm like, oh, I need something to turn in. And so a few minutes before class, that's what I wrote.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
And people loved it.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny how that works out.
Right? Yeah. Not doing your homework to the minute of works out.
Yeah, this is probably
kids.
The most unconventional thing that you should say. It encourages people to do stupid stuff, but some of the best sermons I ever preached were unprepared. Yep. That happens a little bit when you're, because when I was pastoring, it would be, I was pastoring and had a second job. Like, I wasn't ever one of those guys that was able to pastor a church, and that's just my gig. I always had a second job, so yeah. Sometimes you didn't have time to prepare and do all this stuff, and so a couple of my sermons that I had to preach, man, it was just so off the cuff. And some of those were the best ones. So yeah, I get it. Sometimes some of your best work is on the fly. Don't do that with your homework. Especially if you're my child and you're watching this podcast. If I catch you doing that with your homework, you will be grounded. You might get a spanking. It'll be a little awkward for both of us, but it'll still happen. Yeah. So anyway, okay. So I got another story. I guess this will be my last one. Maybe I got one more. I don't know. We'll see. However, Krista was there's a story about Krista, but she was like my best friend. You know, growing up, everybody thought Krista and I were going to get married. You know, she's supposed to be the one for me, and you know, like her mom said we were going to get married. My mom said we were going to get married.
Mm.
Everybody was just rooting on us to get married, um, and it just wasn't like that with me and Krista. We were just best friends.
Your
And
phones are recording.
yes, yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
Dang it! I'd have been so mad. Again, 4 times. Yeah. So anyway, you know, everybody's just betting on the fact that we're gonna eventually grow up and fall in love and get married.
Mm.
But it just never was like that. Like we love each other, but it was never getting married. So we were just best friends growing up. She was kind of like my Joey from Dawson's Creek. You know, just go to her house anytime that I want to and just hang out. There's times where we'd stay the night together, but we were just friends. But Krista, she got into golfing because her dad was into golfing and my grandpa was into golfing, and so I wanted to get into golfing, and so we were learning how to swing a golf club and like how to have your hand the right way and have the right grip, interlocking your fingers in the right manner with your thumbs in the right direction, and like trying to learn all this stuff about golfing. And we're in her front yard, and Krista's showing me, well, this is what's in the Golf Digest magazine, and I'm like, okay, let's figure it out. And so we're trying to figure this stuff out, and she's standing there and she's like, all right, step back, and I'm trying to help her with her swing. All right, we got to bring your elbows up to the right, whatever. And I'm showing her how to swing a golf club, and she already knows. She's already better and smarter than I am anyway. So, but she pulls that golf club back and just pow, smacks me right in the nose, breaks my nose, man. This, like the first time I ever had a bone broke. Well, actually, the only bone that's ever been broke on me was my nose.
Actually, you've never broken a bone.
Yeah,
it's cartilage.
Oh yeah. Well, I've never broke a bone, but I've broke my nose several times.
Have I actually?
Yeah.
Just once.
Just once? Yeah, I broke mine a few times. I've had a few head concussions, but yeah. So Krista broke my nose. The girl that I'm supposed to fall in love with and get married. That would have been an abusive relationship. I'm just kidding. She may have actually broke my nose a few times. On a side note, my wife has tried to stab me before with well, she did stab me with a toothbrush. So I don't know, broken nose, stabbed with a toothbrush. I got shanked. In other words, don't slap your wife on the rear end, and you won't get stabbed with a toothbrush. So yeah, what do you got?
Well, you can go into my final
thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got a couple final thoughts.
Yeah, I in preparation for this, I remembered a coffee shop in downtown Lafayette, Indiana. That's just a couple of blocks away from a pedestrian bridge that goes over in the West Lafayette. It goes over the Wabash River in West Lafayette. And I remember a time of just hanging out downtown, hanging out that coffee shop and spending several hours there, just there and going over the pedestrian bridge and hanging out there. And there's a train station right by there too. And I went to look up the cafe. It's called Skylight Cafe, and it's no longer there.
Yeah.
And I have no plans on becoming like the crotchety old man or whatever.
I already am.
People who get we see people who seem to be bitter or whatnot. I see the things that the world that we grew up in, the world I grew up in is going away. So I get it. I don't want to go there. I don't plan on being there, but I get it. And so any teenagers who may be listening to this or watching this, or any parents of teenagers, pass this along to them. This is the time in high school is a time in your life when you just have a whole lot of fun. You have few responsibilities. And just don't take this time for granted. Things, don't take this time too seriously. Things that you think are super important now, you're going to get to our age and be like, I don't know why I thought that was so important. I don't know why I thought that guy was so important to me or that girl was so important to me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't realize how much I loved high school until it was over.
Yeah.
Seriously. And so I'm going to give you a second bit of advice is, if you have some friends that you're like, I never want to lose touch with these people,
Mhm.
you have to be intentional about it because it's not going to just happen. Right now you see them every day naturally.
Yeah.
If you want to keep on that friendships, I have a few people that I still hang out with just because we're intentional about it.
Yeah.
So, and of course, it makes it a lot easier with cell phones now. We didn't have cell phones.
Yeah, pagers
In high school.
maybe.
Pagers maybe, yeah. And then finally, I have a list of names here of people who I just want to thank. This is nowhere near exhaustive. There are people who I can think of their face clear as day in my head, but I just cannot place a name to a face. Uh, that doesn't mean that I've forgotten you or forgotten the impact you had on my life. So, just people I knew, thank you to Patrick Pfeiffer, Joel Ashcraft. Start over. Thank you to Patrick Pfeiffer, Joel Ashcraft, Philip Miser, Jamie Borman, Charlotte Alvarez, Chad Smith. We spent a lot of times after school at Pizza King eating breadsticks. Brian Clark, whose wedding I was at, who accidentally grabbed my knee because his passenger seat wouldn't lock into place, and he forgot I was sitting there. So he came to a stop, and I slid forward. He instinctively reached out to stop it and grabbed my knee instead. Also, Eric Biddle, Sam Brooks, Bo Tag, Troy Guinea, Michael Mullen, Marty Cox. Three guys there that I know to this day. Chris Brady and Shalina Garrison, Leslie and Brian Timmons, Denise. She gave me one of my favorite nicknames, because I enjoyed writing and because of the way I spelled my first name, Geoffrey. She called me Chaucer after Geoffrey Chaucer.
Yeah, yeah.
Tanika, Melissa McKenzie, good friend. She and I went to the prom with her. Then teachers, Mr. Lapp, of course, Mr. Herbert, Mrs. Bean, Mrs. Holman, Mr. Rule, Mr. Sharp, Mrs. Beck. Again, neither of these lists are exhaustive. So if I didn't name you, don't think that I forgot you. Just know that I cannot remember your name. But
yeah. Well,
thank you to all those people who made high school awesome for me.
Well, speaking of nicknames, Dawn is persistent that your name is going to be Greg.
Greg.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing that story.
Have told her that story.
Should never have told my wife that somebody called you Greg before.
I had a teacher that would call me Greg so often on accident that the entire class would correct her.
Yeah, that's hilarious. My wife thinks your name is Greg now. She told me this morning, why don't you go over and talk to Greg? I was like, who's Greg? Oh, Geoffrey. Sorry, I got it. I got you. Anyway, okay, yeah.
That's
So,
funny.
yeah, it is funny. So final thoughts. Just from my perspective. So, people can change. I mean, just because high school's panning out one way for you doesn't mean that it's going to be that way for the rest of your life. You can work hard, you can make changes, you can be a different person. They say that people rarely ever change, and in some degrees I do agree with that. But at the same time, when somebody gives their heart to the Lord gets all the credit for it, and the Lord can change somebody in a heartbeat, and they can live life entirely different than what they've ever lived before. So like, just in my circumstances, the childhood that I had growing up, I grew up in a broken home. My parents got divorced when I was like 12 years old. So by the time I got to high school, I was doing whatever I wanted to do. I didn't have parents parenting me. There was nobody to tell me, get up and go to school, do whatever. I did exactly what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And so I parented myself. But anyway, when I met my wife, like I'm a high school dropout. I had to go back and get a GED, done college courses and things, whatever. It's irrelevant. But my wife was a valedictorian, so God took two complete opposite people and put them together. And, here we are, like 22 years down the road into our relationship, and we're as happy as we could ever be. But the Lord did that. And it's a result of me giving my heart to Jesus. And, the Bible tells us that he who is faithful, or he who has begun a good work in you, is faithful and just to complete that work. And I believe that God is going to continue working. just like he worked in my life the day that I got saved, he continues to do that for all of us throughout all of our lives, as long as we're giving our heart to him and as long as we're living for him. And so like the Lord has changed my circumstances in my life so much. My kids have no idea what it's like to live in hardship. They don't have a clue, what it's like to have a rough upbringing or, go to a bad school or, when I tell my kids don't hang out with the wrong crowd, it's like, that kid's goofing off at school a little too much. You probably need to just tell him to stop it or talk to a teacher. They're not in a situation where there's other kids doing drugs. They go to a private Christian school. They're not in any situations like I ever was growing up. And it's, that's because of what the Lord has done in my life and through my life that I'm able to give that life to my kids. So, final thought for y'all. Listen, high schoolers, parents with high schoolers, wherever your kids are, just because they're in a situation right now doesn't mean that's what they're going to be in for the rest of their life. There is hope. People can change. The Lord can snatch somebody just like that out of where they're at and make a difference in their lives. But yeah, that's all I got to say.
Good. Well, without further ado, I'm Geoffrey.
And I'm John.
And as always,
Stay cross-eyed.
So, you want to hear something crazy?
Yeah.
Just pulled up the events list for Gen Con. There are currently 25,080 events.
Holy cow.
Scheduled.
How, it's a week long, isn't it?
4 days.
How do you get thousands of events in 4 days?
Well, I mean, they're all, events happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And, eventually I'll do the math again and figure out how much that is, how many events per hour, because it'll start Thursday and it'll run 24 hours until Sunday.
Yeah. I want to know how many man hours.
Man hours? Oh.
Yeah. How many man hours are involved in, what did you say, 28,000?
25,000.
25,080. 25,080. How many man hours are involved?
And since we're going to be there, we're live. Shameless plug. This will be the last one of the last episodes until we're actually there. We're going to be live at Gen Con on August 2nd from 8 to 9 a.m. And this will be driven primarily by me. So we're just going to go a little bit through the history of Gen Con. I want to help with that. I want to use this book, 40 Years of Gen Con. It's actually now been around for over 50. But there's still a lot of good information in that. And, talk about why it's so special. We'll give a little bit of my history about it. And, of course, we'll do some people watching.
Yeah.
I hope to have a couple options. You can watch us on the live. We'll have hopefully have a dedicated camera to just watching people.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Yeah, cool. All right, man.